Hi, Aryna. Commiserations on your loss. Do you feel
Did you
like...
say congratulations?
Commiserations.
Oh my God, sorry. I felt like, okay.
Do you feel like you are the world number one player at the moment? And if not, what do you feel like you need to do to get back to that status?
This question, guys. I mean, let's just look at the rankings. So by now I'm world number one. Level-wise, today I wasn't world number one. Yesterday I was world number one. I feel like I just, I don't want to even think about ranking at this point. I just want to go, get completely drunk, forget about tennis, and try to get better in a better shape.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim and Chris. On today's Wimbledon Day 7 catch-up, brought to you by Babolat.
Osaka outs top seed Sabalenka in straight sets.
Djokovic overtakes Federer for most Wimbledon match wins.
And Coco Gauff beats Bencic and the curfew to make her first Wimbledon quarterfinal.
Chris, today is the 5th of July and we are here to catch up on Wimbledon Day 7 at Tennis Weekly HQ, brought to you by Babolat. On today's episode, there is a huge story. Naomi GRASSAKA dumping out the world number one, Aryna Sabalenka, in straight sets, no less. Chris was at the match. We'll be getting his thoughts, and I want to know what his thoughts are on, is Naomi Osaka the new favourite in the women's singles draw? We'll be getting into that very soon. Will match wins as well for Novak Djokovic and Jannik Sinner, who are through to the quarterfinals. We'll be discussing their matches. Djokovic not that happy with his performance, but he has got another record. He's got the outright number of match wins in the singles for the men at Wimbledon. He's overtaken Roger Federer. We'll be getting into that, as well as looking ahead to tomorrow. The last Brit in action is finally, Chris, on centre court. Arthur Fery versus Grigor Dimitrov. We'll be talking about that at the end.
Our Wimbledon coverage is brought to you by Babolat.
Babolat have been the official supplier of rackets, strings, bags and accessories for Wimbledon since 2013, as well as providing the tournament's racket service since 2022.
Every year, Babolat release a much sought-after Wimbledon collection, and for 2026, 6 rackets are being released, including the Babolat Pure Dry Wimbledon 2026, featuring exclusive design predominantly in white, the tournament's historic colour, whilst incorporating touches of red inspired by the strawberries of SW19.
And we are giving one lucky listener the chance to win the Pure Drive Wimbledon 2026 racket with exceptional power, versatility, forgiveness, prestige and elegance. The Pure Drive 2026 is the ideal racket to enhance the Wimbledon experience.
To enter, head to our Instagram page, follow Babolat UK as well as Tennis Weekly, and tag a friend in our competition post.
Entries close at midnight on the 11th of July, and the winner will be announced on our Wimbledon Men's Final podcast on the 12th of July.
To shop their official Wimbledon collection, head to babolat.com. The link is in the description.
And you are hot onto recording and hot off court one and beating the curfew there.
2 minutes to go for Coco. I can't really believe that she did it. I was looking at the clock. I was tweeting 15 minutes and it's 4-2 or 4-3. And she managed to do it. I think it was very dramatic. Also at the same time, Norway were taking out Brazil. So
was it a double screen job?
There was some double screens going on. But
okay.
Joel, more importantly, should I be saying congratulations or commiserations on making it into a viral moment? In your Sabalenka press conference.
I did not expect this to travel as far as it has and as quick as it has. But yes, listeners, you may have heard my voice in a clip with Sabalenka talking about her defeat. That was the opening clip. But yeah, Chris, my WhatsApp literally was blowing up 10 minutes after that Sabalenka press conference.
It was dramatic, wasn't it? I was on court and Sabalenka ran. She ran to press in her match outfit. She did not go and change or get ready.
It was like a record, I think.
I've never seen it that quick. Maybe Jannik Sinner, when it came to his exit in the French Open, the announcement was Jannik Sinner is on his way to the media theatre. So you had right time, right place.
Yeah, and genuinely, I had sweaty palms when I was talking about that because I said commiserations on your defeat, and Aryna thought I said congratulations on your defeat, and she was like, "Hang on, did you say the right phrase there, and I was a little bit nervous about kind of double thinking. Oh,
What did I say?
What did I say? Oh my god, what happened?
Congratulations on losing, Aryna.
But fortunately, I did say commiserations, but I think I did learn that commiserations, it's a very British word, and it does sound very similar to congratulations. So it maybe
I think you've
it's
done
a
that
word
before,
to keep
Joel.
in the pocket.
I'm convinced you've done this before, but maybe it wasn't so high profile. It didn't go quite as viral. But I mean, it was quite fun because it really was one of those moments where it presented itself the opportunity to make it to a Sabalenka press conference where a lot of people might not be there. And then we had a little brainstorm about what to ask. And I was like, you've got to ask the number one question. You've got to do it. And
I know
I said,
you love putting the difficult questions to me.
I didn't think you were going to do it. I really
Sabalenka.
didn't. I really didn't think you were going to do it because it's a tough question, but I think it's a question that needs to be
It's a valid
asked.
question, though.
And she knew it was valid. Her response really made it clear as well that she knew that at certain days she's not playing like the world number one. And that ranking is going to become very questionable in the coming months and, well, even weeks at this point. But Joel, I guess that means we should probably talk about someone to congratulate, not commiserate, which is Naomi Osaka, who really did do something special on centre court today.
Yeah, I mean, this was a fantastic performance from Osaka. Straight sets against Sabalenka. The last time that happened in a Grand Slam was at the US Open, I think back in 2020 against Victoria Azarenka. But yeah, I mean, 6-2, 7-6, classy performance for Osaka. You were on the tennis court for it.
I wasn't physically on the court,
Sorry,
but I was watching from the court.
You were
Yes, I was
inside
there.
the grounds. I mean, were you surprised by the levels that Osaka brought? Because at times I thought she was hitting Sabalenka off the court.
She was. I think what I've been more confused about is the Osaka that we've seen in matches previously. I think we've seen her being out hit by Emma Raducanu. I think it was last summer, and I just thought that is mind blowing to me, considering she used to have the sort of power that you'd gasp at, and there were gasps on centre court at some of the shot making she was doing. I mean, if you look at how much more aggressive she really was going for it. The serve was absolutely fantastic. She was not broken. Her winners to unforced errors. It wasn't necessarily. I mean, when you play a high quality match, it can be sometimes trickier to hit more winners than unforced errors. But I mean, overall, it was a fantastic performance. Probably the best Osaka performance I've seen. Maybe even since that Swiatek match where she should have beaten her at Roland Garros. It was the complete Osaka package, and it just makes you think, thank goodness she's back, and thank goodness she's enjoying tennis.
Where has this been? I think we've seen signs from
glimpses.
We've seen glimpses, yes, but this really felt like a standout moment where she just brought it all together. And you know, I remember at the start, I think of that second set, Sabalenka was visibly getting frustrated with herself, bouncing her racket on her head multiple times.
She did. She hit herself on the head.
She did.
Yeah.
Yes.
She really was not happy with that moment. And I think she actually handled the frustration quite well. I think it must be difficult when you're playing an opponent who's playing your game style, but better. And Sabalenka is not a natural defender. She does not enjoy that, especially on a grass court. So it was just a case of anything you can do, I can do better. And even in that tie break, I mean, this was something I was so shocked about, is the fact that, you know, she's broken the tie break run. Osaka hasn't always been clutch in some of these big moments at big tournaments in recent years. So it really did feel like the complete package of Osaka was back. And the serve being such a weapon, I think when we've seen some of the losses she's had, the serve is so good. It's almost like, how has she not done better on grass until now? And I think it's a Wimbledon that she's going to remember, because she's really enjoying it. She talked about it afterwards. She said the most fun she's had on a tennis court in a long time. And you can see it. You really can. I think that's very exciting. I think someone who needs their tennis to do more talking is Sabalenka. And the question you asked her about the number one ranking, we're in a very similar situation to last year, where she's not picked up a slam in the first three slams. Pretty much everything is on the line for her at the US Open. She doesn't want to be a slamless number one. She probably won't be based on the rankings. But is it the case that the Sabalenka era, if you can even call it that, is kind of coming to a close a little bit? It doesn't feel like we have a dominant number one anymore, even though the ranking points might beg to differ.
I just find it so confusing because I would still say she's very dominant on the tour outside of the Grand Slams, but she's just not able still to really bring it together when it matters most. And it is a repeat this year. She is going to go to the US Open, feeling like she's needing a Grand Slam trophy this season to kind of say, look, I've had a good season. I mean, what I thought was interesting was in press afterwards, her defeat against Schneider at Roland Garros. Afterwards, she said that she wanted to quit tennis. She was a lot more emotionally controlled after this defeat. Do you think that just kind of suggests or even like admits basically that Osaka was playing the better tennis? She was the better player on court and she just couldn't really do anything about it.
I mean, she did follow up with another interview with another broadcaster where she said, I didn't do things that well. She did everything really well. And I think it is a combination of that, but it's also the fact that Osaka, I mean, it doesn't get much bigger or much cleaner than what Osaka was able to do on the court today. And yes, there were some small chances that she had, but I don't think she could have done that much more today. Having said that, though, I think for Osaka, I think she could get even better. I think she's on a very upward trajectory here. I think she's gotten over those center court nerves. And I think it's interesting when you see these sort of matches and we're talking about the fact there's going to be a new Wimbledon champion because Krejcikova's out now as well. And there are a lot of big names that are still in the tournament who have won slams before, even though we are losing, the likes of Rybakina, Swiatek, and Sabalenka. I mean, we have got a lot of female Grand Slam winners who are still in contention.
We do. I mean, I just have to ask you before we move on, because the last time we spoke, I said to you that I think the winner of Sabalenka Osaka is going to win the tournament. I still stand by that statement. What about you? Is Osaka now the favourite for the women's title?
I don't like the statement that you made because if Sabalenka won, I don't think that would be the case. But I did think Osaka was going to win in straight sets. So I probably agree with the fact that she could be considered one of the favourites now. I think there will be some stiff competition elsewhere in the draw. I think Mukova in the next round. That's a matchup that doesn't always go her way. And that's a player who can make you feel very uncomfortable on grass. So I wouldn't go and say that Osaka is the favourite to win it now. I think she's got challenges in the draw and having never done that well on grass before, I don't think I could say that. But do I think the winner of this match has a great shot at doing it? Yes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how she faces up against Mukova, because that was the final in Bad Homburg. It didn't get completed. So sort of kind of nice, actually, that we're going to hopefully get a completed match between them on grass. But yeah, it will be very interesting to see. I wonder if Osaka will take anything from that final that they had. I think Mukova, her slice, I think, is one of her greatest strengths. And if she can keep the ball low for Osaka and make it difficult for her and keep it out of her strike zone, I think, Mukova has those capabilities to make the ball a lot more awkward for Osaka than perhaps Sabalenka did.
It's probably the best surface for that matchup for Mukova. I think she can do an awful lot of good things against Krejcikova today. I mean, it was a battle of really good grass court players. And I think you can out-hit Sabalenka, but I do think that Mukova, you've got to do a bit more than just, ball bash. So
I agree.
We'll see.
She's a classy operator, very classy operator. Even though, weirdly, her record at Wimbledon, every main draw singles appearance she has been in, it's either been quarterfinal or round one. So week 2 or go home for Mukova so far. But yeah, it's so far so good.
By the way, because I said to you, match of the year is currently on court 2, and you left Djokovic to come and watch Mukova Krejcikova with me.
We did have to go and have a moment together on court 2. Because, and it was so great. Those first 2 sets were high quality stuff. It, to be honest, made me think that this should have been on center or number one on a bigger court. But it was a great
contest.
Great content.
I'm glad that there's a Czech player going through. I was going to say, you love that stat when it came out. It reminds me of the Ostapenko stat that she'd won 7 matches and lost 7 matches at Roland Garros because she lost every time in the first round and won the title once. So I thought that was particularly nice to hear.
Well, that was an all-Czech affair, and we also had an all-American affair today between Jessica Pegula and Iva Jovic. Jessica Pegula is through to set up another all-American clash with Coco Gauff. And Chris, you were at the Coco Gauff match against Belinda Bencic. They beat the curfew, and this is what Coco Gauff had to say about it.
Honestly, I was thinking about it the whole match. I don't know if I went into it, but before the match, they told both of us, like, at 11 o'clock, the whole spiel. And then we started the first set. I think it was like 10:05. And I was like, this should be, no, we started the third set. It was like 10:05. I was like, it should be enough to finish the set. But I don't know. Then we had a couple long games. And next thing you know, it was like 10:45. And I was like, oh, my goodness. I did not want to come out here tomorrow. But I was just trying to get up a break and stay up a break, because I was like, I'd rather come out here with the on serve up a break instead of the other way. But yeah, I didn't realize that once we started the last game that we would, however long it took, we would be allowed to finish. I thought that literally at like 11 o'clock, it was like wraps. So it's good to know for next time that I don't maybe have to rush as much.
It honestly was so dramatic because I was thinking, are they aware of what's about to happen? And a lot of people actually, even in the media section, they thought, no, surely they're going to finish it. And I think that was because there's some confusion around what's happened previously, which was, I think it was maybe Murray Bagdatis or something like that, where they were able to continue it by a few minutes to get something.
Yes. It was like there was like a visual, and it was like 11:02.
It was 11:02, exactly.
And I was like, hang on. Oh, the council aren't going to like this. Wimbledon are going to be getting a letter from them in the morning.
Well, I don't think the council and Wimbledon are always going to be on good terms with the development that they're proposing. But turns out that if they start the game, they'll let you finish, a bit like on Mastermind that Kim was on, obviously. If they start the question, they'll finish it and you can answer it. So Coco thought she had to be done. It wasn't quite the case, but she said she was very aware of it. And, playing against the clock did actually change her game style, which was interesting because she was trying to get it done. She was being a bit more aggressive at times, and she was actually saying, whatever happened, I was going to serve and volley just to try and get it done rather than have to come back tomorrow. So maybe it was kind of good for her in some ways to play with that added pressure. And she did get it done, and a great comeback because it was pretty... it wasn't a good way. It wasn't a good way to go, that first set, having had points for 4-love, then losing it 6-4. It was a complete sort of...
I was going to ask you, did Coco Gauff make this more difficult than it should have been, given what happened in that first set? Because, as you mentioned, she should have gone 4-love up, and perhaps from that point, this could have been a match that could have been done. It didn't need to go as close to the curfew as it did.
Maybe she thought that was like what she was trying to play to that time, as close to the time and you win, but not the case. I think it was a bad performance at all. I don't think her getting pegged back in that first set does mean that it wasn't a good performance. I think it was probably the best I've seen her play on grass in years. Probably the best I've ever seen her play on grass. So despite that, we can't take away the fact that Bencic is a very seasoned competitor on the grass court.
Semi-finalist here last year.
Yes, indeed. And she's also got a lot of pedigree when it comes to, this stage of slams and going deeper, and their matchup isn't always a walk in the park for Coco. So I think it was about getting the win. She did, and I think she looked the best I've seen her at Wimbledon ever.
Oh, that is fighting talk. I thought it was a good performance from Coco Gauff. I think she did well on serve. She won 52% on her second serve. I think she protected that really, really well. So, it will be interesting to see how she faces up against Jessica Pegula, because she had another 3-set win over Iva Jovic, 4-6, 6-3, 6-1. Pegula has now defeated Jovic on all court surfaces this year. It's her 10th career Grand Slam quarterfinal. And Chris, her grass court form this year has been a breath of fresh air, I think, for Jessica Pegula, who hasn't always found it as easy on this surface. But she is 7-1 going into the quarterfinals. She's in the quarterfinals for a second time at Wimbledon. Reached the final in Berlin, bageled Sabalenka en route there. And it's going to be a very interesting matchup against Coco Gauff. I sort of still feel Jessica Pegula. She leads the head-to-head, and I think she is the better grass court player. But they have such an interesting rivalry, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I also think that Pegula's grass court pedigree is kind of underrated because she's picked up titles in Germany the last couple of years and made a final this year. Obviously, that kind of early loss at Wimbledon last year kind of threw us off a bit because we thought, hang on a minute, you're good on grass. What happened? I think that's probably the difference here is that Coco is playing herself into form on grass. I think JPEG has a fantastic game, almost kind of built for it in many ways, because today there was a lot of variety. She was coming into the net, drop shots. I think she's got all of the tools to make it very difficult. And I think the pace and the flat hitting that she has, I think that's going to make it a challenge for Coco's forehand. I think she knows how to play her. So I'm probably leaning on JPEG, my original tournament prediction. But having said that, Coco Gauff, she's finding a way to elevate her game each round.
Yeah, I mean, Coco Gauff also loves, I feel like, 3-set battles. Jessica Pegula also loves 3-set battles. It could just go to a decider. I just feel like Pegula against Jovic. Is she motivated by playing the youngsters? I feel like impressed. She absolutely hates it when the age gap or the age thing is brought up. And perhaps that brought the best out of her. Before we go to a quick break, Chris, I want to ask you, we haven't had an American ladies singles champion since Serena Williams. I think there is a great chance here, given the form of Pegula and Coco Gauff. Who for you is the best chance at an American singles champion? Is it Jessica Pegula? Is it Coco Gauff? Is it Madison Keys? Is it Ashlyn Kruger?
Ashlyn Kruger, goodness. I'm not going to say Ashlyn Kruger. No offense to Ashlyn Kruger, but I have to say that Pegula probably is the best shot here. I think that there could be some challenging matchups for Coco, whereas I feel like Pegula is a bit more solid. But I think it could be on. I mean, I said this before the tournament. I really do think it could be on. I think there's four. Ashton Kruger. There are 3.5. I don't know what to say, but like
Kruger's got incredible number of matches.
You think she's good? Is she going to win it, Joel? Come on.
She's not going to win it though.
No, but she's not. But I also just think, American women's tennis on grass. It's a bit of a revelation this season.
Yeah. Right. We're going to take a quick break now. Do join us in the second half where we will be discussing the men's action from day 7 at Wimbledon, including wins for Novak Djokovic and Jannik Sinner. Plus, we'll look ahead to day 8 with British hopes resting in the singles with Arthur Fery on centre court against Grigor Dimitrov. So do not go anywhere. Welcome back to the Tennis Weekly podcast brought to you by Babolat. And it's time now to look back on day 7 and the men's action. And we're going to start, Chris, with Novak Djokovic because he has now broken Roger Federer's match wins in the gentlemen's singles. He is outright on 106 now. Roger Federer is on 105, courtesy of his victory today over Roman Safiullin in 4 sets, 7-6, 6-3, 3-6, 6-3. This was a bit of an odd one because afterwards in press, actually, Djokovic, he was not happy with his performance.
Has he been happy in press, Joel? This whole tournament,
I think was his most kind of disappointed press conference. I don't think he was particularly happy with the court as well. I was there for the match and he was looking down at the turf quite a few times. And the match started like I think we all sort of were expecting. Djokovic breaking first game. We all thought, well, this is going to be, a stroll in the park for Djokovic. But Safiullin, we've got to remember, he's been a quarter-finalist at Wimbledon before. He pushed Jannik Sinner, to 4 sets a few years ago. So, Djokovic did well, but there is that sort of feeling that he should have really got this done in 3 sets.
Did he do well, Joel? With my question, I mean, before this match happened, we thought he's going to be on court for 2 hours getting this one done. I think he's right to be concerned with his level because it wasn't great. I think he needed to improve again after the Rinderknech match because there was that loss of concentration that did happen. And maybe it was sort of the injury timeout that threw him because Safiullin did obviously take that and then kind of bounced back and got a set, which we weren't really expecting. So I think for Djokovic, he knows it's about getting wins, but I think he also was hoping that he'd be playing himself into better form. I thought that some of the Rinderknech performance was great. I thought maybe this one would be the Djokovic we expect. We still haven't quite got that yet. So if he gets...
I actually think we're further away from it than we were at the start of the tournament, because if you think about this match, Djokovic really should have lost that first set. I think Safiullin was playing great. He was playing great,
like 5-2 down.
I think he first 25 minutes he hit like 3 unforced errors. I think the moment got to him the longer that set went on, but it could have been a completely different story, I think, if Safiullin had taken that first set. I think it could have even maybe gone 5, and it maybe would have been a bit more of a lottery. But perhaps we're further away from kind of the vintage Djokovic that we saw, or at least parts of it, in Tsitsipas earlier on in the tournament.
Yeah, that was a vintage performance, and I thought that Djokovic was playing the better tennis than Jannik Sinner. I don't think that's the case anymore. I actually think Jannik Sinner is getting better. He was playing a very high quality match today. We will talk about that, but I'm less confident now than I was before about Novak Djokovic and his performance, and I think maybe that's why he was a bit despondent about the performance when he talked about it, because he's not where he would like to be. But where he does like to be is breaking records. He now has the record, so that's job done. And Joel, we've been talking about this. We've been trying to do some basic arithmetic. How many more Wimbledons would it take for him to get this?
Oh, my head hurts already. Because yes, Martina Navratilova is on the outright singles with 120.
He's on 106 now, so 14
he's on 106.
needed.
So there's still a few more tournaments to go, and a few
so if
more.
He goes out to Jannik Sinner
runs
in the semi-finals, he got another win, 107. He's still got to come back twice.
Yes, I mean, for me, the more interesting question is the fact that Djokovic has now got more match wins at Wimbledon than Federer, but Federer still has more Wimbledon titles than Djokovic. Federer has 8, Djokovic has 7. So can we call Djokovic the undisputed grass goat based on the fact that he's got more match wins than Federer, or do you still give Federer the edge because he's got more titles?
I mean, Federer has the edge completely. I think in terms of grass court titles overall, I think in terms of Wimbledon and the Wimbledons that he's played, what he did consecutively on grass was peak Federer, hugely, outperforms peak Djokovic on grass in terms of dominance on the surface. I think longevity is something that Djokovic is able to cultivate that the other greats of the game aren't able to. So I see these records as a sign of the fact that he is an athlete of the highest order, the way he's able to manage his body. I don't really think it's a comparison of how good they were at their peak on the surface, and that's kind of how I see, like, if you're the GOAT in my mind. Okay. I don't know about you, Joel.
Ooh, I still put Roger Federer as my grass goat. I think just on the titles.
It sounds so funny, a grass goat.
Style of play, the style of play as well. But there's no denying Djokovic's longevity, and I think that's, for me, the impressive thing about the fact that he has overtaken Roger Federer, and he will face Felix Auger Aliassime in the quarterfinals, who battled through in 5 sets against Fokina. He won 6-7, 7-6, 6-3, 6-7, 6-1. This was a very interesting match. Auger Aliassime could have got it done in 4 sets. He had 2 match points. But there was a big flashpoint, Chris, during the match, because Fokina sprained his ankle on a Felix Auger Aliassime service game and called the physio. And Auger Aliassime was asked about this in press afterwards. He did not like it one bit, and this is what he had to say about it.
I think the rule has to change. I think that obviously, as long as the rule is like that, player will use it in their advantage. And I think that it's very simple. If you're hurt bad, or whatever you're hurt, while the game is going on of your opponent, in the middle of the game, the opponent serving, the shot clock is on, and you basically, if you're hurt bad, you're forfeiting every point until you can call the physio. And if the physio helps you to recover, then you play your service game, right? And if you're hurt bad, then you retire, obviously. But to stop in the middle of an opponent's service game and to be able to call the physio, I think that's a disgrace of a rule. I don't see any other sport where you can do that. I mark my words, it's a disgrace of a rule. So that's it.
I'm quite shocked by that, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought Felix Auger Aliassime was a very mild-mannered man. He came in very hard on the rules, didn't he?
He did. He came in hard. I think.
Do you agree with him?
I don't really, to be honest. I think of all the times you could kind of make this point, it doesn't feel like having won the match and it didn't necessarily hugely, change the course of the whole event. I think it's probably not the time to really go in on this, because I think if you do need to call the physio, you can call the physio. You can do that when you like. And if you continue, then you could do more damage to it. So you want to get it checked before you continue. I don't think it's tactical. And I think players do tactical things, but players don't call a trainer in the middle of a game tactically. That doesn't happen very often. And these two are good friends. Like, they went to each other's weddings, I believe. So I'm not sure where the bad blood comes here. I just think that it's more annoying if someone does something when it's ahead of your service game. At the change of ends, they call someone and they should do it before their service game. I think that's more a bit, frowned upon. But I mean, if you've got an injury and you need to speak to someone about it, I would rather someone sought treatment immediately.
So you don't think that in order to get that kind of access and that right for Fokina, he should have, it should be on his own serve? You think he should be able to do that to disrupt Auger Aliassime's rhythm on his serve, to get the treatment he needs?
I mean, again, it's not really about the fact that Felix needs to keep his rhythm. It's you're able to call the trainer. So you're not really going to get a rule which is if you slip and injure your ankle, the shot clock is still going and you have to go and stand there and injure yourself further before you're able to seek treatment. So he's basically saying if you slip on grass, you have to go to your chair, forfeit the game, and then seek treatment. Does anyone want to see that? No, I don't think they do. So I'm not sure why he's gone so hard on this. And if the shoe was on the other foot, I'm not sure he'd have this opinion that he would forfeit a game because of an unfortunate injury.
Okay, well, listeners, let us know. What do you think of
I don't know if I've been controversial. We don't know if we're controversial or not here.
We don't know. But I mean, the other matchup that is set, we've got Djokovic, FAA. Curiously, their head-to-head is only one apiece. They've not really played each other that often. And one of those matches was in the Laver Cup. So, that will be an
That doesn't
interesting
count,
one.
Joel, does it?
Well, that's an interesting one. We've also got Jannik Sinner versus Jan-Lennard Struff. Struff coming through against Hubert Hurkacz. Hurkacz having to retire, unfortunately, in the fifth set against Struff. Sinner through in a lot more of a comfortable fashion. Is there this feeling of inevitability that we're just kind of heading towards Sinner Djokovic semi-final?
I think it's looking quite likely, having said that Djokovic isn't playing his best. I don't think that Jan-Lennard Struff is going to take out Jannik Sinner. I think it's probably the easiest quarterfinal draw someone's had in a very long time. Jannik Sinner's draw has not been particularly challenging and he hasn't made it look particularly easy. So I think they are still a cut above. They find ways to win. I think he will win that match. I think we will get Djokovic Sinner. And I think it will be very interesting to see where they're both at after all of the words that we've spoken. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, the way that this draw has unfolded, because we thought we'd get certain matchups that we haven't. And there is an inevitability that, even when he was down 5-2 in that first set for Djokovic, you think he's going to win, Sinner break up, then, he gets pegged back to level. You still think he's going to come through, and he did. I mean, a 7-love tiebreak in those key moments that these guys are just so good. So I think we're heading there, Joel.
Yeah, I mean, Struff has played 18 out of a possible 20 sets of tennis. I guess the fifth set against Hurkacz, he won 4-2 when Hurkacz had to concede. But he has basically played a lot of tennis, so wouldn't be surprised if Jannik Sinner.
That is a lot of tennis. I'll tell you one thing: if I was watching all of that tennis, not saying I wouldn't be entertained by it, but I might be tempted to pull out my pack of cards, Joel. A bit
Yes, that
like
is true.
Djokovic's son.
Oh yes, I forgot to mention this because Stefan Djokovic, Novak Djokovic's son, was caught playing tennis. He was caught playing cards in the player box by the TV cameras when Novak Djokovic was a breakdown in the third set. I mean, what do you think Novak Djokovic would have had to say about that?
Well, clearly he was sending a message, you know. You got to up the game. You got to win this for me to pay attention. And I guess if you're watching some of these 5-set matches, I mean, he's basically making the point maybe they should be shorter because the younger generation they can't keep the attention
Can't
span,
keep
can
up,
they?
can they? Well, I thought what was funny was there was a quote from Novak Djokovic earlier in the year that talked about Stefan being his biggest fan, and I wonder if it's still the same case after these images of Stefan playing cards.
Yeah, I mean, at least his cards. He's not like on his phone or anything like
Yeah.
that. So
Well, so I'm going to get really deep here. The card game he was playing was called Exploding Kittens, which is
goodness.
it's a type of Russian roulette game apparently.
Any kittens
Um,
harmed in this? Do we
No,
know?
I don't know. I mean, listeners, let us know. Are you aware of that card game?
Have you played
Maybe
Exploding
we need to
Kittens?
play it. Maybe Tennis Weekly HQ. We need to get a set of a set of Exploding Kitten card games.
Yeah, we can see. I'm sure that Kim will be the one to teach us for sure.
Yes. Right, let's move on to look at the order of play for day 8 tomorrow. Centre court, we've got Jasmine Paolini versus Alexandra Eala, followed by Grigor Dimitrov, Arthur Fery, and then Lehechka, Zverev, Dumanor, Kaboli, Keys, Noskova, Fritz Bublik on number 1, and then on number 2, my fave, Ashlyn Kruger versus Marta Kostiuk and Marie Bushkova.
You know where you'll be.
Yeah, exactly. Versus Elise Mertens. Let's quickly start, Chris, with Arthur Fery versus Grigor Dimitrov because he has finally got a proper show court assignment. He has been given the centre court treatment a little bit too late for me personally. But yeah, how do you see that match going? Because we put it to a vote for our fans on social media, and they were heavily in favour of Grigor Dimitrov.
I mean, I also think Dimitrov's going to come through this. I think for Ferry that the body could be an issue, and for Dimitrov, so
Long match against Bergs, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he said he was struggling. I think for Dimitrov as well, recovery might not always be that easy, especially.
Are the earbuds going to work though on centre court with that many people?
Would you shut out the positive noise? I think you might want to try and absorb it all, but I think it could be a long one. I do think Dimitrov's going to come through, but I think that Arthur's going to put in a good showing on centre.
Interesting. And I'm just going to say this now. I don't know what you think about this, but this is the first time in the championships that we've got 2 men's matches on centre court, 2 men's matches on number 1 court, and on number 2 court we've got 2 ladies matches. Kruger, Kostiuk, Bushkova. If any of those players win, they have not played any of their matches on centre or number 1. Mertens, of course, played on there with Rybakina, but are there any issues there for you, or do you think that is kind of fair enough that those matches are on number 2?
I think that's quite interesting because I'm not saying that you should have put, Kruger versus Kostiuk on centre, but I think that everyone normally gets a chance to play on a bigger court ahead of playing on a big court.
I agree. I'm the same.
Yeah, I think you could quite easily, move someone like Taylor Fritz or Alex de Minaur. In fact, Alex hasn't been on one of the big courts either. So I think maybe the jigsaw puzzle is they've just put the same players on centre and 1 potentially. And I mean, court number 2 is no bad court, but I think the circumstance of scheduling has made this happen. And I can't say I'm surprised that Bushkova or Mertens haven't made it onto one of the biggest courts yet.
Okay. And finally, Eala. There is a great photo of Eala that we didn't talk about from her match against Iga Swiatek, where she's basically on the floor playing a forehand in a kind of horizontal pose. It really is kind of quite an incredible, majestic image. I don't actually know how she is playing this shot from such a low point to the turf.
She made the shot as well, by the way.
Yeah, it was an incredible shot. Are we going to see more of that shot making against Paolini?
I think she's going to need to bring all of the tenacity for that one. I think Paolini obviously made a final here before. and backing up a big win is so difficult. So it'll be interesting to see if she can do it. I think she rose to the occasion before. I think she probably wants to hit more shots, on 2 feet. I think that's probably a better way to get
Yes.
past Paolini. But either way, it'll be very exciting to see. Do you think the run will continue, Joel?
I think it will, but it is an interesting matchup because Paolini, I think, will feel like she also has a point to prove at the moment. Given her kind of slow kind of falling in the rankings outside the top 10. It's a big moment for both of them, and we all know how difficult it is to back up a big win. We know Eala is box office. She'll be even more box office, I think, if she can back it up. So we will have to see. We're going to wrap up our Wimbledon Day 7 catch-up brought to you by Babolat here at Tennis Weekly HQ. We hope you've enjoyed the ride with us. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of action from Wimbledon, where we are producing daily episodes across the fortnight. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all your favorite podcasting platforms out there. And if you love what you're hearing, be sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, as well as hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube.
And you can stay connected with us on social media. You actually might have already connected with Joel on social media through that clip. In fact, I'm even thinking, should we be doing merch, saying commiserations on one side, congratulations on the other? It could be that viral, but you can also hear that clip on our social media on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and X. The handle for all of those is Tennis Weekly Pod. And if you just loved that question and you want to email us, please email us tennisweeklypod@gmail.com or visit our website at tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we'll be back on Monday for our Wimbledon Day 8 catch-up brought to you by Babolat. But until then, it's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Tennis Weekly.